Hi everyone. Today we have Prashant here. He's a backend engineer at Argonaut, and he's gonna walk us through the implementation of ArgoCD into Argonaut. And this was very crucial for the CIV2 pipelines, which is also available in the other video, episode 2 of the series. Go check it out. Hi Prashant.
Everyone, everyone.
Yeah, so tell us more about why ArgoCD was so important in this step.
What we wanted to achieve was more of a GitOps oriented approach because what we were doing earlier was basically shoving things into a DB and then applying those configurations. Now, what you miss out there is who made those collaborations, like how do you revert the changes that were made, what changes were made, keeping a history of those, and uh, and when was the change made. All of these comes when you introduce Git. And Git is already a tool that is being used by developers, so why not use it for development? And when you think of GitOps, like a major tool that comes into your mind is always ArgoCD because it's the biggest player when it comes to GitOps approach for deployments. So we went with that. Yeah, that was the made most counting decision for choosing
Mhm.
ArgoCD, basically. Yeah.
Awesome. So how long did the entire implementation take for you?
So this ArgoCD implementation itself was not the only piece. So what we were doing there was revamping the entire backend to split things up, basically. So what we wanted to do was split up your build process from the deploy process, so that what you could do is you could take one build and progress it to your development environment, and then you run some tests. Maybe it's successful, then you process this to the staging one. You run some fewer checks and do some manual testing. All the devs come in. Then you can process. Then you do a process to production. Now this is like a overview of your pipelines basically. And
Mhm.
to achieve this, what we needed to do was split split Argonaut resources into individual blocks that can work together to achieve your meaningful outcome, which in this case was build and deployments. Now, deployments was all about ArgoCD and using internal ArgoCD and then making the deployment process more async. Because what used to happen earlier was we used to do a Helm install, and if you tried waiting for resources, uh,
Mhm.
they take a lot longer. Like they can take 10-15 minutes, and you're just waiting on the screen. Now, chances of failure in those cases, chances of getting your deployments in a bad state, basically where you have to uninstall and then reinstall it, are high. But now it's you apply the configurations, and we take things async, and we do our backend magic there, and you get live updates. It's amazing.
Awesome. So this is very crucial in having the version 2 of the CI pipelines, right? Which introduce separate build and deploy stages. You can also support now sequential and parallel run
Yeah,
pipelines.
yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. This gives more control to the user. So, yeah, awesome.
Hmm. And from a user perspective, what are the other benefits they can see with the ArgoCD implemented pipeline feature?
Hmm. So, um, the from a user perspective, the main thing that comes to mind is customizability. Earlier, we were, it was basically a kind of lock-in, if you'd say. Like you have
Mhm.
one build, you're doing one deploy. Now you're running a production build inside one. You're running a production build and you're running a developer build and you're staging build, all of those. These tend to be like similar images, so uh, you don't get the you don't get the sequence automation that pipelines brings to you. Also, like you can be, basically customizability in other sense. You want to run some tests, you want to do some pre-hooks, post-hooks, all of those. So those steps can be configured using our pipelines. And then, yeah, you can have pretty much that.
So I think by using the same build for multiple pipelines, the user can also save on costs. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, if you have ever worked with GitHub Actions or GitLab CI, you know the cost that is associated with it. Now, if you have multiple environments, so all of those, like we have internally, we have four environments, 5 environments, and if we were to run each build for all of those, so that's, and let's say our build takes 10 times. So every time you're running it,
Mhm.
it's 50 minutes to cost. They're occurring 5 times the cost. And yeah, as your number of environments grows, your team increases, this will skyrocket. You don't want that.
Mhm.
This is useless cost that you can cut back on, which is what our pipelines help you, I think, the most. Yeah.
Mhm. Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit, stepping back from ArgoCD, can you tell us a little bit more about what goes into the backend of a tool like Argonaut?
Mhm. So the way I see Argonaut is like you have multiple third-party integrations, right? Now we are
Mhm.
building all of these together. We're making an amalgamation of it. So right at the when you sign up, let's say you sign up for a new account, right? The first thing you see is which cloud provider are you using. So how we approach the backend problem is you need to uh, take an take a encapsulation of what you're thinking about. So cloud providers, and it in the backend, I'll get a little bit technical here. In the backend, it relates
Mhm.
to a cloud module we have, right? And it does that module has the responsibility of doing all the integrations, generating token, all of that, right? So you don't outside of the cloud module, you don't care about which cloud am I using. You just say, yeah, this is the integration. Make me a temporary piece for this and we take care of it. So the idea behind designing it like this to so that you is that you basically can add multiple providers on top of it. Let's say we wanted to do Azure, so all we need is to add Azure in a cloud module, and our other modules can talk to it without having to know that internally we are using Azure most of the places. So that is
Mhm.
how we design it. Like um, ArgoCD, for example. So deployments, you're saying, right? Deployments is also like right now it's just ArgoCD as backend. ArgoCD as the way to do deployments, but you can also have some other tools. Let's say a user wants to do FluxCD instead of ArgoCD, right? Because that is
Mhm.
an upcoming tool and they want to do that. So we can support that integration and we can just write a provider for more FluxCD and then yeah, they can take things up from there. Outside of the deployment module, you don't need to care about how the deployment happens. You just need to like yeah, making things agnostic is the most important part. Yeah,
Mhm.
this lets you do a lot of combinations. For say, you can use GCP with FluxCD, you can do Azure with ArgoCD, something like that. So all of these combinations are possible because of this code, this pattern that we follow. Yeah, that's a more technical approach that how I like to see.
Awesome. You're also saying something about a revamp, right? And when you started working at Argonaut about like 2 years back, how was it then? And did you have this bigger vision in mind at that point, or is it developed over time?
No, no, no. No. So when I started, I was still in college basically as an intern and I barely knew anything. I started as a front-end engineer and yeah, like I CSS was hard for me, bro. Like I won't kid you around. So yeah, that was the most difficult part. And then but I kept kept at it and then yeah, like you get better and better and better and better. And then I thought, yeah, like let's try out backend because that seems interesting and there are a lot of tools and a lot of growing space. DevOps is a growing
Hmm.
space. I want to do that. So I one day asked for yeah, task in backend. He gave me a small one. I found it interesting. I asked for more. Basically,
Okay.
I started learning and then learning and then implementing those, learning and then implementing those. This is a cycle basically. I love to learn and then implement those. So basically, that's how that's how I became a solely backend developer from a front end engineer. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's a nice transformation. And it's great like that startups like Argonaut, you get the opportunity to switch roles according to your strengths and also like build into that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Tell a little bit more
Argonaut is
about your
great.
experience joining as a first employee and then seeing the company grow over the years.
Mhm. So yeah, when I joined, I was basically working alone with Surya as a my mentor, kind of. So yeah, it was weird working in isolation. It prepares you to do um, it prepares you to do a lot more own research because you don't have anyone to fall back to. So I did a lot more research and all of that. But I also like developed a bad habit basically to push code. Doesn't matter the quality of code. I need to release the feature. What that led to was yeah, a lot of issues. That's why we had to do a revamp. I was a major cause for it. But yeah, after that, yeah, a lot more people joined up and like they had more ideas. They you have different ideas coming in, right? When you have a team, basically. So yeah, you get both sides of the pros and cons, and your ideas are down sometimes your ideas are better, which just ultimately leads to a better product, I think. And like you become a better uh, team player and a better engineer. That's how I see it. I think I become a better engineer. Yeah.
Very cool. So how was your experience when you had your first customer on board Argonaut and the feeling when
Um,
somebody's using your product that you developed?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think the first customer was Mr. Albert. And when they joined, it's basically like you're getting the validation that the thing that you're building is something that people need. Because before than that, you're just building everything in isolation. You don't know what's in the tunnel. You see a light basically when you get the first engineer. Yeah, okay, there is a space that we are solving a problem that has a very real issue in the DevOps space. Basically, yeah.
Mhm.
So it was like a very big push to keep running forward. Basically that. Yeah.
Great. And how was your experience in entanglement events, like where you met the company and other employees?
Yeah. Amazing, dude. Amazing. You guys are great. I love it. Yeah. You had that binocular, I remember the 100x zoom. Yeah. Dude, amazing, amazing. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Like so over the over calls, you don't get to show the body language that a person has and then like what the tone you don't represent that when the fun parts you don't you don't have that water cooler talk basically when you're working
Hmm.
remotely. Entanglement gave me chance to do all of that. Yeah, I think I made great sense.
Yeah, especially as
Yeah,
both of us started job careers fully remote, I think, right? And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
similar, most of the other people at Argonaut as well. And also like
yeah,
coming out of COVID pandemic and meeting people in person was such a great experience. And
yeah,
we first met in Goa and this year in Shillong. The destinations were
yeah,
also really special and made the experience even better. So yeah, it's a great team bonding experience. I think more companies should do this and have their remote teams gather at least once a year.
yeah. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I miss entanglement every single day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Anything else you want to share with the audience?
No. Until the next episode, guys.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Prashant. Stay tuned, guys, for the next episode. See you all. Bye.
Bye, guys.